very much, Gairhearlig, for selecting this commencement matter, and I want to welcome Minister English to the House. And of course, he's no stranger to local government, as being a Minister for State in that department himself, and hugely committed to local government and reform and participation of the widest possible amount of people in local government. And I know he's a strong advocate of that, and I'm delighted he's here to take this commencement matter. So, Minister, this commencement matter that I have tabled is the need for the Minister with responsibility for planning and local government to make a statement on increasing participation of women and diversity in local government, including the funding to facilitate this participation. And that is the issue. And I suppose really I want to set it out at the very outset. I want to acknowledge the decision yesterday of the Cabinet, at least in principle, to approve the maternity leave. I think it's a really important step, but it's only one step in terms of increasing participation of women in the workplace, but particularly in local government. But I want to see it bigger than that. I want to see the participation of diversity within local government. And I'm thinking of the migrant community. I'm thinking of new people who have come to our shores that are eligible to participate in local government, because I think that's also an important part. And it is about good people in local government and supporting people into local government. I'm supportive of promoting wider inclusivity and diversity in local government in all local decision making. It is important that the new entrants into local government are supported and facilitated and assisted in every way possible. It is also important that we support the existing councils, and one of the things that's been brought to my attention in recent weeks is through the women's caucuses and in bringing the women into politics, which is fantastic and I fully support it, but we must also support the women that are there already. And ageism, Minister, is alive and well and kicking in local government. And I don't like this suggestion that everyone has to be young to be in local government. There are very able and experienced women in your party particularly, but all parties, but you have a higher, I think, ratio of women in local government than most in your party. But it's there supported too. And it's not about pushing over or being pushed aside for new entrants. We want new entrants into politics, but we also want to support those who want to stay, and I think that's an important point. I've acknowledged that the Cabinet have approved in principle the maternity leave. I think it's important. I want to acknowledge also the work of Peter Burke, who's done an awful lot of work collaboratively with the Association of Irish Local Government and LAMA. And also I think it's important to acknowledge Councillor Mary Hode, and she's the former President of the ALG, and she was a very, very strong advocate for women and participation of more women in local government, but also for councillors in local government, and achieved an awful lot in her term as President of the ALG, and I want to acknowledge that. I also want to acknowledge, as we're talking, Councillor Terry O'Flaherty, who's many, many years a councillor in Galway County City Council, and indeed Councillor Kerry McHugh, who was on the steering group, that small group that Minister Burke picked to look at this issue. So really what I'm saying, Minister, is it's all very progressive, it's all very important. There's a new round of funding has been identified by your department called Increasing Participation of Women in Diversity in Local Government, which so happens to be the same caption that I've given this commencement matter, and there's a new call for 2022, and I think we need to talk about that, and we need more publicity in relation to it, and people need to be aware that there is this funding being put in place by government to encourage women but into parties, but also independent women who don't choose, who make a conscious choice not to join a political party. They are as valid and as important in the local government structure. So, Minister, I leave it at that. I think it is important that we encourage people. We also support women, but we support diversity, and we support everyone who wants to come in and make a significant contribution to local government. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'm glad to have a chance to address Senator Victor Boyhan on the issue raised today, which is very, very important around the increasing the participation of women and diversity in local government. I think it's essential, and I'm delighted to be able to give that speech on the response on behalf of Minister Peter Burke, who successfully brought his proposal through Cabinet yesterday in relation to maternity leave, which is, I think, is something that should have been there for many, many years ago, but I'm glad that he's achieved that now, and I will again assist with the participation of women and diversity in local government, and rightly so as well. So just outline a few things, but I think at the start, to agree with you totally, that's a really, really important conversation that we're having. We need to have it more often. You're absolutely right. We need to promote the work that is happening here, and also promote the notion of people entering politics of all ages. And very often when we talk about new candidates, it's assumed they're young candidates, not necessarily new candidates of all ages and all backgrounds are essential to come into the system, as well as looking after and protecting those that are there who are given great service as well. And it's important that we would do that, because I would have come into politics quite young myself, firmly of the belief that every generation should have a voice and should be represented, be it at local level or national level as well. And that's important that we do that. There certainly shouldn't be any ageist comments either against the older or against younger. It should be a blend and people from all backgrounds and all age groups coming into politics as well. So again, I want to thank Senator Boyhan for raising the issue of increasing the participation of women and diversity in local government. I fully recognise the low rate of female participation in local government, and addressing this issue has been a policy priority of the government since its formation. A range of initiatives have been undertaken aimed at improving the gender and diversity balance on councils, while at the same time working to make the role of councillor more sustainable for all and more attractive, because we all recognise it's got to be an extremely busy role, but a very, very important role. Whether you're in a party or independent or not, it's all equally important and equally beneficial to the local community as well. In relation to the specific issue of funding to local authorities, the Department of Housing has issued annual calls for funding since 2019, requesting local authorities to submit appropriate proposals for projects to address the underrepresentation of women and people of diversity in local government and structures and decision making. While it is fully appreciated that local authorities do not have a specific role regarding political candidacy for local elections, they are in a position to create an informed, supportive and encouraging environment for women and people of diversity who might be interested in local government. There has been great interest from the local authority sector, with a range of innovative applications received. In 2021, 103,000 plus was allocated to 14 local authorities. Proposals that have received funding at local authority level include a behaviour and attitude survey among non-national groups, a webinar on political engagement, a work shadowing programme for young women interested in local government, and publishing an information booklet on the role of the councillor. Earlier this month, in 2022, the 2022 call for funding was issued to local authorities. In addition, following research funded by the Department in 2021 on female caucuses and local government structures, funding was approved for local authorities to assist with the establishment and running of such caucuses. The provision of this funding was through an application process, and funding was provided mainly to caucuses that were yet to be established. In 2021, funding of 62,000 was approved to help to facilitate 24 local authorities with local level regional caucuses. I also want to mention that since 2019, grant funding has been made available to political parties for specific projects aimed at increasing female participation and diversity in their parties. In September 21, following a review of the scheme, an increased fund of 150,274 was allocated across 7 political parties, and for the first time to an independent group. So I'm no doubt you're aware of that, and I'll be glad to hear that confirmed as well. Under this scheme, initiatives previously funded include the appointment of a party diversity officer, a recruitment campaign targeting new members from migrant backgrounds, the travelling community and people with disabilities, development and training workshops for women members, and an annual women's conference. It is proposed to issue a further call for funding again this year to the political parties, and no doubt to the independent groups as well. So again, Chair, allow me to conclude by thanking Senator Boyhan again for raising this important issue today and for his considered views. I think it's important that we continue to shine a light on the efforts by everybody in these houses to try to increase the diversity and increase gender participation across local government as well.
Thank you, Minister. Indeed, I'm very familiar with the independent groups included last year, because we lobbied for it. It wasn't included in the initial proposals, and we pulled together a group of independents to make a submission to then Minister John Paul Phelan the year before last, actually. And to be fair to him, he was very keen to facilitate that. So I think, Minister, you summed it up there when he said it's important that every generation should have an opportunity, and I'll just add the word every generation should have an equal opportunity, be they diverse, whoever they are, to participate in local democracy. And I think that's important. And I think the work that your department has been doing, the Department of, shall we say, Housing, Planning and Local Government has been doing, is exceptional. And I just would like to acknowledge also Louise Pursley, Assistant Principal Officer in that department. She's really driven this. She's really taken responsibility for this within the department, and kept in touch with the city and county managers and the chief executives and the local authority and the councillor group. So I want to acknowledge her participation and support, and the minister's support. I think it's all very progressive, and hopefully we will bring in line more new candidates. And I'll finish on that point, but let's continue to keep the focus also equally on supporting those who wish to stay as city and county councillors and support them in that work. And it's every generation, and local government is best served by having a mix of people, diverse views, diverse opinions, and a mix of generations. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. And again, as I described in my opening statement, there's a range of measures which have been taken to promote gender balance and diversity in local government. This includes support to local authorities, for women's caucuses and political parties as well. And again, like yourself, Senator, I recognise all those who have been involved in promoting this through the department, through the local government, through the LGMA, through all the different council representative bodies as well, to try to make this happen, and did your own work in this space too. And I think Peter Burke has been a very open minister to engage, building on the work of John Paul Phelan, working with all stakeholders in this to try to get results and to make things happen as well. It has taken probably longer than it should in some cases in relation to maternity leave and so on, but I'm glad that that's now through Cabinet. Yes, it's really important. The measures that I spoke about earlier also include support to Women for Election, Longford Women's Link and the National Women's Council of Ireland, who provide capacity building and training services as well as policy research, benefiting all women interested in entering local government. Again, just yesterday, Minister Burke secured Cabinet approval for proposals to provide maternity leave and support for councillors and cover in relation to votes and important decisions at local authority level or administrative support, whichever is required or needed as well. So take that pressure off councillors who need maternity leave to look after their newborn, that they don't feel they have to be there for somebody's meeting somebody's votes. To give them the option and to be very clear that that should have been there a long time ago. And I'm glad that that's secured now. These measures are in addition to the significant reform of councillor remuneration introduced with effect from the 1st of July 2021, which places the role of a councillor on a more financially sustainable footing, recognising the increased role they have. We continue to work with the sector on non-pay related improvements in the role, and it is the intention of government that through the funding schemes that I've mentioned, alongside the holistic reforms being put in place such as maternity leave and supports, the role of the councillor can become truly achievable and sustainable for all. And that's exactly what you're asking, Senator, that it's sustainable, and that's an option for anybody, no matter who you are or where you're from. And that we'll have elected councillors that are more fully representative of the diverse communities they represent. Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Senator.